to document pretty much every event that would prove significant in shaping popular music.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Purchase the book at www.rockandrollunraveled.com. Follow him at Twitter at R&R Unraveled, and look him up on Facebook at Rock and Roll Unraveled.
Rock and Roll Unraveled.
By author Derek Shelmerdine.
Available now.
You're listening to the John Lebang Show.
On the Radio Revolution, right here.
It's better than some good Thai stick, man.
Yes, I would like some too.
The Australian diplomat whose tip prompted FBI Russian probe has ties to guess who, ladies and gentlemen? The Clintons. That's right. Downer, now Australia's ambassador to London, provided the account of a conversation with Trump's campaign advisor, George Papadopoulos, at a London bar in 2016 that became the official reason the FBI opened the Russian counterintelligence probe. But, of course, lawmakers say the FBI didn't tell Congress Downer's prior connection to the Clinton Foundation. Here's the FBI again, given half-truths, not telling the full story to the congressional hearings there. But the FBI, they've been in the news a lot lately, and every time they're in the news, something negative is coming from them. Either they're not investigating or not taking out these terrorists and shooters. I mean, they've been even caught aiding and abetting a few of them, like the guy that was going to bomb the Federal Reserve building, and they just happened to stop him in time, but they provided him with all the bomb-making material. You can look that up yourself, ladies and gentlemen. Type in Google. It's real easy. FBI, Federal Reserve, bomber, and start reading about that subject. We've covered it here many times on the show. Then we have this story that is growing, and we talked about it last week. White South Africans face genocide. Their leader says, "We are cutting the throats of whiteness." All this comes out first comes out in February, where they're just going to take the lands. That's actually a little bit over a week ago. South African Parliament voted to allow the seizure of land from white farmers without compensation. During an EFF campaign speech, the big leader over there cranked up his rhetoric and hate and hostility towards South African white people, saying that his party had decided to remove the mayor of Port Elizabeth because he is a white man. And he encouraged his followers to go after the white man and to cut the throat of whiteness. Let me play you a little bit of that video.
So these people, when you want to hit them hard, go after a white man. They feel a terrible pain because you have touched a white man. Not because Mashaba and Soli will not be touched. They will be touched, don't worry. But we are starting with this whiteness. We are cutting the throat of whiteness. Now
I understand this is South Africa and not the United States, but I don't see why we don't have an outcry against this leader in South Africa. Because if it went the other way around, where we would hear outcries from not only the U.S. media, but the European media and any other media that decries racial hostilities. But we're not getting any mainstream coverage of this event that's going on in South Africa. We also have a Mexican man who assumes an American identity for 37 years And he steals $361,000 at least in government benefits. An illegal immigrant and repeat felon who bilked federal, state, and local governments out of hundreds of thousands of dollars in benefits, according to a plea agreement entered into San Diego federal court this week. California, they're just awesome out there. Sanctuary state all the way around. He was armed with fake birth certificates. He developed a seemingly legitimate persona by applying for California license because they give everybody a license. A social security number, how he got that, trying to figure that one out, and a U.S. passport. But that's not it for California, because California is such a great state. We have this. Thousands of pounds of human waste, close to 14,000 hypodermic needles cleaned out from California homeless encampments. Can you imagine that, folks? Orange County Public Works released eye-popping figures Thursday on the total amount of debris, needles, and hazardous waste removed when crews cleaned up an area along Santa Ana River, once populated by the encampments of homeless people. Here's what the collection between January 2nd and March 3rd found. From I-5 to Orange County Bale Road in Anaheim, 404 tons of debris. Tons. These are from homeless people. 13,950 needles, 5,279 pounds of human waste. California, you're doing a great job allowing those people to live in these encampments. And the question is, why are there so many homeless in California if it's the utopian state that it's always portrayed to be? Why is that? I mean, you've got fabulous politicians like Nancy Pelosi out there. And she's telling you, hey, just recently, politicians could learn a lot from drag queens. So we have a massive cleanup in California. We have the politicians who are just outstanding individuals and use drag queens as role models for politicians. Maybe Nancy Pelosi is a drag queen. You know, I've never thought about that. I always thought she was just a crazy woman. But maybe she's a drag queen. She's just a little skinny guy who looked a little feminine. Now, have you seen any of the videos lately? She had a 15-minute speech and she was grasping for words the whole time. She's losing it. So we have that. Not only do we have a guy who ripped off the government, Mexican man, who ripped off the government right there in California, federal, state, and local. He was stealing money to the tune of $361,000 that could have went somewhere else. But this guy lived for free, it looks like. He probably was on some kind of welfare program, probably got food stamps, health insurance. Illegal alien, ladies and gentlemen. And you know what we're going to end up doing? We're probably going to house this guy in a jail somewhere, and he's going to get $30,000 to $40,000 worth of room and board in a prison somewhere. It's just incredible. But it's in California, and that's a fabulous state. I know we have some excellent affiliates out there, but man, somebody needs to get on their government out there, I think. I keep hearing that California is a utopia. It's the progressive mecca of the country. Yet I don't see the utopianism when you've got the streets of San Francisco littered with waste. You got parts of San Diego littered with waste. Parts of all over Orange County littered with waste and human feces. And it costs taxpayers. Just imagine how much it must have cost the taxpayers of California to clean up 404 tons of debris, 14,000 hypodermic needles, and almost 5,300 pounds of human waste. So I think California should probably stop worrying about being a sanctuary state and get their house in order, because something isn't right out in California. It is not the utopian mecca that they claim it to be. And if it is, where is it? I've been to LA. That's not a great place to be in. It's not the cleanest town ever. We've had riots down there. You know, there are some parts of California that are really nice. By the numbers, it doesn't look that way. Can you imagine if they got to run the country like they wish they could? If we just did everything by popular vote? In the last election, if we would have let California settle it all by popular vote, we'd still have Hillary, and we'd be heading down the same road. Although, you know, it's regardless of what my so-called Republican friends continually promote out there, Twitter Don is not holding up his end of the bargain. Just last week we talked about him talking about gun controls. Speaking of gun control, on the other side of the break here, we're going to talk about a little bit more of that Florida shooter. But the Twitter Don there, we have a tax plan that helps mega corporations out. Doesn't help the individual out. I knew it wouldn't. I told you it wouldn't. I looked at my paycheck again this week for 2 weeks. Couple bucks difference. I think I made $3 different this week. So for 2 weeks, the prior check it was $11, and now it's $2 or $3. That's just going to be awesome for me. Awesome for me for the year. It's really going to help out my economy, Mr. Trump. And that was promoted as a success. They still haven't gotten rid of Obamacare, Mr. Trump. Where's the wall, Mr. Trump? And how's Mexico going to pay for it, Mr. Trump? You know, when we look at the so-called accomplishments of the current administration, there's not much there. And their touted accomplishments are barely accomplishments. Sure, they're great for maybe Wall Street and corporations, you know, because they give everybody jobs, right? And that's the argument you get from the Republicans. Oh, all these corporations give everybody jobs. Well, we don't want jobs per se. We want a better life. And we don't want to be beholden to have to go to a corporation to work for the rest of our lives. I mean, that's slavery in its own right. But hey, you know what? Who cares, right? We had a giant job growth, and we'll talk about that as well, because all of a sudden, a whole bunch of people went to work or got jobs last month. We'll talk about that on the other side of this.
Hey, you. Yeah, you. Listening there. Don't go anywhere. John Lebang Show is going to be right back. Just ask the hillbilly.
That's right. Right after this.
What about me? Maybe next time.
Powerful. Epic music by Toothbox Roll. Life-changing lyrics come in every style, empowering humanity to finally unlock the chains of bondage. Experience the edgy side of positive music and rock your world today. From Primal to Divine, available now at sassyalternativemusic.com.
If you are elderly, disabled, receiving SSI or Medicaid, and you have a medical need or require assistance with daily housework, shopping, grooming, medication, you may qualify for housekeeping at no cost. Call now, VIP Home Healthcare, 248-579-3805. VIP Home Healthcare, there when you need them. That's 248-579-3805.